Hello, sweet one, and welcome to the Survivor series brought to you by Star. Due to mature content, please do not play this around children. As a survivor, I created this series to help you see that you can heal and that you are not alone. These episodes also show you the ways that we can heal, release shame, and reclaim our power. Today's episode features Jourdan. Jourdan is a spiritual leader, a singer-songwriter, a transformational coach, a mother, and a survivor. In today's episode, she shares her story of healing and also leads us through an EFT tapping session and crystal bowl sound healing session. If you're struggling, please call Star's 24-hour hotline toll-free at 800-478-8999. Now let's dive into today's episode. All right. Hello, everybody. I am here. We have Jourdan Rystrom back. Thank you for coming back for the Survivor series. You're amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Jourdan is a spiritual coach. She's a Reiki master. She is a singer-songwriter and so many more things. Yesterday, she led me through a past life regression for like 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
This is so amazing. I'm thinking about doing a podcast like about the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 12 pages of notes for you. It's like, it's such a journey, and it's so much fun on the other side too, where I'm, helping facilitate your experience, but you're the one having it, and you're like, and this is happening. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just so many amazing nuggets of healing and just expansion. So thank you for just being such an awesome client.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was wild. Anyway, singer-songwriter part. So we didn't really talk about this last time. A whole part of your life and your being of being so passionate about music. You live in Nashville, you've lived in LA, and you've been singing and bringing this beautiful music to the world for a long time. And your most recent song, Battle Cry, I actually have made it into the outro for all these Survivor sessions. So everyone's going to hear a little snippet of that song at the end of this video. But it's such an incredibly powerful song. And there's so much about reclaiming our power, kind of women's rights. I'd like to hear more about that from you. Like, what experiences in your life led you to have such a passionate, perspective?
Yeah, the resounding cry in the battle cry, we're saying, this is my battle cry. It's do or die. You don't own me. And so this resounding you don't own me comes through. And just in all my own personal experiences and how society looks at women, how, old biblical texts say this is what women need to do. They need to submit to their husbands. They need to not. Basically, we're just not our own entity. We're told constantly through society, even though there's people standing up and saying this is wrong, we're still being inundated with, we're just a body. We're just here to, reproduce and make children and marry a man and take their last name and not be seen. And as little girls, we're supposed to be seen and not heard, and we're supposed to be a nice girl, be a nice girl, Jourdan. All of those things, like, we take that in to our subconscious, and it just comes out in all of these different ways, and then we feel disempowered when it comes to making our own choices, when it comes to meeting men, working as owning our own businesses, even, we're the first generation, really, Blaze, where we can own our own business as a woman, and people usually don't bat an eye anymore. Think about it. Before that, it was like, oh, you can't do that. You can't own a business and be a mother. You can't do that. You got to have, it's this or that. You're either going to make money and be lonely forever, or you have to be a stay-at-home mom and just dedicate your entire life to your children, because that's what your job is as a woman. And then we still see this. Where the people in government, the people in high government, mostly, older white men, are making the rules for women's bodies. And that's actually what really got me activated to write this song, because some laws are being passed. And I just recently moved to Nashville, where I lived in LA before, which is very, more open and liberal views. And then I moved here to Tennessee, and it's quite the opposite. And there were laws passed recently in Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia that it's called the heartbeat bill, where if you're 5 to 6 weeks pregnant, it is now illegal to get an abortion. So that's before most women even know that they're pregnant. And guess what? In the case of rape or incest, doesn't matter. Still got to have the baby. And it's like, it makes me furious, because it's not like I want people to have abortions. That's not what this conversation is about. It makes me furious because we're not treated as a human being, as someone with, autonomy and sovereignty to make our own choices. And it really frustrates me that, the woman's mental health is not put into any consideration, especially in cases of rape or incest. So it's like, oh yeah, you were raped, sorry, you gotta have the baby, but you can give it up for adoption. You don't have to keep it. And then, we don't want to go down that road, but basically there's so much that's not set up to support women who end up having these babies, and then they don't have the income that they're bringing in to take care of them. And, I'm like, it just brings up a lot of questions where our system, I think, is very broken, and there's a lot of different ways to fix it. And so I'm here to stand up and sound that battle cry, because it's time to make a change, and it's time for us women to step into our full power. And, we've got it. It's just time for us to reclaim that.
Whoa.
That just came through. So hopefully that made sense.
It did. It made perfect sense. But I am just kind of like soaking up your power right now, because you are like, it's passionate isn't even the word. It's beyond that. And I'm like I just was picturing you at a podium, like in front of, thousands, like, women. Woo! Thank you. Thank you for speaking for so many of us. And I think a lot of women echo those feelings and don't know how to express that, and would never be comfortable speaking in the way you just did, thinking that maybe they wouldn't be accepted by certain people, or they're still stuck in their parents telling them they're not supposed to be that way, or a partner who maybe put them down in a different way. So thank you very much for using your voice. Speaking and singing. The song is really, really powerful.
Yes, go listen to it, everyone. It's also a song where we can embody this feeling, this energy, this power that you just spoke about. It's like we can embody that with music, and we can dance, right? We can dance and we can feel. And the more that we embody it, the more that we anchor in these feelings of power and magnificence and change, the more that we get to show up in the world doing just that, just by being who we are.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. All right. So in that same realm, again, this is a Survivor series. And so this is something that is so close to my heart, and I've been wanting to share healing tools specific to survivors of sexual assault for ever since I was assaulted. And so it's taken me a lot of years to build up the courage and be in a healed enough place where I can really confidently share this without being too afraid. It's still uncomfortable, and I feel totally good with that.
Absolutely. That's where growth happens, in the uncomfortability. So I just want to salute you and honor you for creating this series. It's phenomenal.
Thanks. So, I know we've spoken a few times about some different things in your life, or different perspectives you have, and what you've seen for yourself and maybe some of your clients or other people in your life. So I'd love to hear sort of your perspective, and of course, just to your comfort level of what you want to share with us today. But I really want other women to know that they're not alone, and share, specifically like the feelings that many of us have had. So we can start from that place of knowing we're not alone, and then going, okay, but how can I heal?
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you for choosing me to be on this series, because this is actually the most scared and uncomfortable I've ever been to, because it's calling me to show up for all of the silenced women. where I, hearing your story, I'm just like, oh my God, like that is terrifying, and hearing some of the other survivor stories, I'm like, wow, that's like stuff you hear in the news. And most of my assaults and abuse and rapes, like, were the little things that don't go seen, that don't go heard, the little things that, I would push him away, saying no, no, no. And, the 20th time, I'm too tired to push anymore. And I'm too scared. If I run away, what's he going to do? Is he going to hurt me? And so I would just completely dissociate from my body and give in, where no is no is no is no. And we all know that that's not okay. But there were so many instances through, my college years and my 20s in LA where these men, they just push and push and push and push, and they don't want to take no for an answer. And even though I would start with no, and I'd start with pushing them away, and they'd push back, or they'd, by the 6th time I'm saying no, their hands down my pants, and I'm silenced. I freeze, and as a hypnotherapist now, and as a healer and a coach, I have studied the brain, and oftentimes we'll shut down and disassociate to protect ourselves. It's a trauma response. And so that's kind of how I grew up. I grew up like shutting down and taking this deep, deep shame within me. The shame of, why didn't you say no one more time? Why didn't you push him one more time? You probably could have gotten away. He probably wouldn't have hurt you. All of those questions. And so I kind of want to take a stand for all of the women out there who are in the nuances of this abuse, the nuances of rape, which is really what it is, right? I mean, I can't recall like the exact definition, but rape is a non-consensual, right, sex. It's non-consensual. So if someone's saying no and you're pushing them to do it, that's what it is. And I think it's time that we start speaking out and calling it for what it is, right? That's another thing. I think so many women are afraid to even say the word rape because of the severity of it. And I was actually talking to my fiance, my loving, beautiful fiance, who is just so accepting of all of me, all the parts of me, the broken parts, the powerful parts, just everything, which is so beautiful. And I had to go through all that bullshit to get to where I'm at now. But I told him, I said, I've never been more scared to do an interview because, my stories, my experiences aren't the ones that you hear on the news. They're the little ones that you hear from the college parties and from, someone just not being able to fully say no. And he said to me, babe, there's no minor death. Death is death. So it's the same thing. He's like, there's no minor rape. The same thing happens in our brains. The same triggers go off, the same ways we shut down into shame, the same ways that we shut down, the safety mechanisms shut down, the wiring goes off, and we're left feeling powerless. So whether it was something completely violent, or a friend that you were dating for 2 weeks and you thought that he liked you, and then, he pushed you into having sex when you didn't want it or before you were ready. It's the same mechanisms. It's the same wiring that goes off that, creates a feeling of, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm powerless, I failed. And then that turns into self-hatred and self-destruction, which, is you and I both know, we have been led down the roads of addiction, and thankfully have recovered from that and are on the other side. But it's like those are that self-hatred, that self-guilt, that deep loneliness, that I have experienced in all of these different avenues of the what's wrong with me, why couldn't I have said no one more time, why couldn't I have stood up. That's really, I think, the core of this, right? The core of all of us, all these experiences that bring us together. And that's why we can say me too. And I think that's why the Me Too movement has been so powerful, because when we share one story, every other woman can say, me too, me too. And that, if that doesn't resound something in our society, what does? It's like, hello, me too. It's happened to me too. And I just think that it's time we stop being silenced and we start being heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to go back for a second and say again, thank you. And your story or stories are completely valid. And it's so interesting that you feel like, well, maybe it's not what people want to hear. It's not on the news. It's not sensational. And I've had the exact opposite feeling as far as my ability to connect with other survivors, because my experience was so sensational. It's a horrible word for that. It was, it was so over the top that it was like I didn't have the option for the police to not show up. I didn't have the option to, weigh these different things. I didn't have the option to really feel the guilt or shame, because I didn't even know who it was. A masked man. I didn't even know who it was, and so at the time. So again, people can hear my story and they can go like, wow, that's so scary and terrifying, and it's like a Law and Order episode. I don't think they can always connect in a way where they would say me too, because they don't. I mean, some people do, unfortunately, but some people, it's like they say, oh, well, then what I went through wasn't that bad. And that's like the last thing I want.
Exactly. And that's why, and I know when we first talked about doing this interview, I was like, am I enough? Am I enough for this? And you're like, yes, because we need to hear all voices, all sides of the spectrum, because, like what my fiance said, he was like, there's no minor death. Death is death. And I'm like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right. And it's a different healing process and a different buildup, I feel like, because I know I've had experiences like what you're talking about that I've really brushed under the rug, because it's like, well, I was drinking, well, I was on that date, or I could have fought more and I just whatever. And and so I think a lot of women have had experiences of doing something they didn't really want to do, and they just didn't. And even you said, freezing. Like, I think that can happen a lot, where you're almost paralyzed because you just don't know what to do.
Yeah. And especially if you're at a party or you're somewhere new and you just don't know where to go, you don't, again, all the safety mechanisms, warning, and then boom, usually it shuts off. You disassociate, you leave your body. At least, again, that's what happens to me. And when I've shared my experience, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that actually happens to me too, but I didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And so, it's like and it started, it's so funny. I was trying to, as I was preparing for this interview, I was trying to think like, where did it go back to? Like, when did it start? And I think like a lot of times it can start in a really innocent way where, and I'll share this because it's a little story that kind of brought me into the feelings. I was, I believe, in 7th grade. So what are you, like 12 years old or something? I think 11, 12, 13 years old. And I was at a pool party, and this boy who I liked him a lot. He was like the bad boy. And I was like, ooh, I like him. And oh my gosh, like I got invited to this pool party because it was actually my sister who was 2 years younger. It was their like Girl Scouts reunion, and I was the older sister, but they have older siblings at that house too. So I was just along for the ride, and I was in this pool, and the boy that I liked, we were all, diving underneath the pool and going through people's legs. Right. And I'm diving, and all of a sudden, at the very end, because I've got the goggles on, that boy, he'd pulled his pants down and shoved his, stuff right in my face. And I was like, I felt very like, violated, because I was like, that wasn't expected, and then I actually, we went back inside and I didn't say anything. And then he was like, hey, Jourdan, come here. He was with his guy friend. And I mean, we're like 12, right? So he's like, come here. We want to talk to you. And they brought me into their bedroom, and they like threw me down on the bed and started trying to take my swimsuit off. And I was like, stop, like, don't do this. And I pushed them off. I actually did push them. This was the time when I did successfully push them off. And he looked at me and he goes, here, I'll give you all of this. And he gave me his like crayon bank with all this money. he was like, I'll give you all of this if you take your clothes off for us. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And he goes, Sarah would do it. And Sarah was like this girl in the class who I guess, I mean, I don't know, but I guess she was supposedly like having sex with the boys and stuff. And I was like, and I looked at him and I said, I'm not Sarah. Let me out of this room or I'm going to scream and I'm going to tell your mom. And I remember I left and they were like, you're no fun. Ugh, what's wrong with you? You're disgusting. You're sick. Ugh, you're gross. This is why you're not popular, you know? And then I left the room and I remember feeling so many emotions. And again, I'm 12 years old. And I was just like, oh my God, like I felt violated. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt abused by, again, this is like, these are 12-year-old boys with, you know, stepping into the toxic patriarchy and the toxic masculinity or whatever vernacular you want to use. But like, she would do it. Why won't you be like her? Here, I'll pay you money for it. You know, and then just going straight for force. You know, so it's like all of these things. Where did they learn that? I don't know, but it's sad. And that's like what I'm here to stop. And I'm so glad I gave birth to a son over the pandemic. And I'm so excited to teach him loving ways to respect women and to respect himself, because I never want to see this happen again.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you've already talked about your partner being such a great man.
Yes.
And you know, when I hear a story like that, I'm like, where is these kids? Where are they seeing this behavior? You know,
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, we can watch TV and watch weird shows and play weird video games, but when people are actually acting in that way, it's usually they're seeing something in real life. They're seeing their dad, their uncle, somebody is displaying something really inappropriate or harming them in some way, you know? So like that story is all around just like, oh God.
It's like those are the seeds that are planted, and that's where things start, you know? And yeah, and this specific boy, he had a single mom who had guys in and out of their house. So, you know, he had probably witnessed that. And then again, you witness it, you take it on, you keep passing it down the generations until it's healed. And it's like, oh, it fires me up. That's why we have Battle Cry.
Yes. And another part of that keeps coming up to me is the idea of young women. And when you're a junior high or even high school, and this idea that like what they said to you about the other girl, and you'll only be cool, or we're going to tell everyone you did it anyway, so you should just do it. Or, you know, this, like the bullying and the, I mean, I don't know about you. Well, now I know more about your experience then, but I know for me, like I didn't have the kind of bullying I see today. I mean, I definitely got teased. And I think most kids do about something, but you know, nowadays there's like sexting or, so, you know, girls sending naked pictures, and we didn't have that option, or at least I didn't. There was no camera phone when I was in high school. Thank God.
I had the razor, the pink razor.
Okay.
I had the T9, you know, boop, boop, boop.
Okay. Well, I'm old. But I always feel this so sad, you know, when I'm like seeing teenagers and then they're experiencing depression and suicidal tendencies, and because they have so many hormones, and there's just like the pressure just seems super intense.
Yeah, at an alarming rate. And it's the anxiety, the depression is skyrocketing off the charts, because I think we have more access to the cell phones, the internet, porn, you know, just all of the different things, and Snapchat, right? I mean, I don't even play with Snapchat, because all I hear from my friends is like getting unsolicited dick pics. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So what would you say? Like, I mean, I guess you did handle that situation really well. Would you have any advice for, you know, another girl going through something similar?
Yeah. So yes, because when I did speak my truth and I did say no, then when I was in school, I was ignored and I was like punished, right? I was punished for speaking my truth. And so that's where I wanted to lead into the fact that, like, I think I might have internalized that. Like, if I speak out and speak my truth, I'm going to be punished. I'm going to be ostracized. I'm going to be bullied. I'm going to be put in a corner and not seen or heard. So, you know, what's the other option? Dress so that men will see me want to be loved. And I think that began the intertwining, just all the ways that we break ourselves down from our power. So yes, I stood up for myself, but then endured many years of self-destruction after that because of what all of, again, the nuances, the situations. I was even, from in LA, I was essentially raped by one of my bosses. Like, he literally led me into his home under the guise of, I want to hire you for creating this new brochure for our company. And I get there and he's got a movie on and popcorn, and he's like, here's my bed. And I'm like, what's happening here? And countless other times, and living in LA too, young women who move to LA, I was looking for a job and it would say assistant needed, personal assistant needed. And I'd show up to this interview and it's a porn shoot. And I'm like, now I luckily stepped away from that, and I was like, this isn't for me. But it's like, imagine another woman who walks into that, who didn't say, this isn't for me, who shut down in that moment, which I'm so glad I didn't in that experience. I've done it in many others, but imagine how people get into those industries and get just completely broken down. And it's just, it's disgusting. And it makes my blood boil seeing all of these young, impressionable women who, again, they're preying on them. It's predatory because they're coming out to LA to live a dream of being an actress or a singer, right? In my case as well. And then they're predated upon. And it's really scary to have to always have your guard up, to feel like you always have to have your guard up.
Yeah. And that, when you say it that way, it just feels so unfair. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say real quick that you and I know a lot of great men. Because, I spent a lot of years disrespecting men. I had felt hurt by so many in my younger years. And I just I'm like, I don't know what you guys are for. You're not doing anything for me. And I was just very callous almost to I disregarded their feelings and all of this. And so over the years and looking back, I've had the most amazing men in my life. All the boyfriends I've had in my adult life have been incredible and sweet. And I'm co-parent with an amazing man. I have an amazing boyfriend. I have amazing stepdad, and it's like, I do believe that there are probably mostly really, really, really great men that are doing their best, and I actually know more men that are protective of women than are trying to do harm. Absolutely. And so I just want to put that out there, that I am in no way trying to bash men as a gender, but this is an important thing that we need to talk about.
Absolutely.
Other exceptions.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of people think that feminism equals man-hating, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. It's really just about, we're calling out what no longer works. We're calling out what's actually been the norm for hundreds of thousands of years, and it's no longer okay. And yes, many men are shifting, and they're brought up by amazing parents who are teaching them how to respect women, how to love women, how to treat them as, equals. Again, we're like masculine and feminine. Yes, we're different energies. We're different, but we need to be valued equally. That's what it's about. It's about honoring and respecting our differences and valuing both of those equally. And so it's not about hating men. It's not at all. And I have amazing men in my life now, after I've done the healing work, where I began to love myself and therefore began attracting men who reflected what I believed in me. And it was like, I moved to Nashville and I was like, okay, I'm ready for my next up-leveling, my next adventure. And the moment I moved to Nashville, I met a guy who, again, it was like red flags all over the place. And that was the last time I ever endured an abuse. And I remember I put my foot down and I said, never again, never again will I allow this into my space? I am worthy. I am enough. And I am so ready to attract people into my life who treat me like a goddess, who treat me like I deserve a powerful, beautiful, sacred woman. And I remember that moment. I'll never forget the moment where I was like, I'm done with this stuff. I'm done with being treated this way. I'm done with allowing myself to be treated this way. I'm done. And that was the moment I started tapping in the mirror. I think if you guys look at me on Instagram, you can even go, I filmed it and posted it on my Instagram, tapping about this experience. And I was like, because I was done. And it's like when we make that decision, it's like, and I want to speak to anyone who's watching this, who might still be putting up with this kind of abuse or this treatment, of you being less than worthy, right? The moment we make that decision to make a change, it's powerful and it ripples out. It ripples and it is felt, because everything is energy. And so when we take that energetic decision and we say, I choose to love myself no matter what. I choose to respect myself and my body. And it's like, it shifts everything. And then no longer was I attracting men who wanted to abuse me or use me just for my body, or say, here, send me photos of you in, a bra and underwear. I'm like, no, you don't even like me. You just want my body. That's not okay. The moment I stood up and said, no, and really allowed myself to use my no, that's when, boom, I put a ring on, self-love ring. I said, I mean, as cliche as it is, I was like, I commit to love myself. And I put it on my marriage finger. And I said, I am going to love myself so fully this year that whenever I do meet the person I'm meant to be with, and again, no rush on that, but whenever I do meet that person, they are going to help my love for myself overflow. They're going to contribute to it. They're going to contribute it and lift me up in all of its glory and beauty. And I put that ring on. My birthday, June 5th, over a year ago now, a year and a half ago. And the next day I met my fiance. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it doesn't always happen that fast, but I was ready and I chose and I decided that I was done.
Wow, that's a powerful story.
Yeah.
And then you met him and you're like, well, hello, you're stuck with me now, buddy.
I was like, well, I mean, it was so funny because I'm like, oh, you're 33? Oh, those are my angel numbers. Tell me more. And he's like, oh, my zip code has 33 in it. All his credit cards had 33s ending, and then his phone number had 33. I was like, okay, angel numbers, I think you're telling me that I might supposed to be with this person. And just, he's so spiritual and he's so just awakened, and he's just treats me like the divine feminine that I am, that we are. And it's so beautiful. And now we have a beautiful baby boy.
Baby. Well, also for you to find a guy and start spouting off about angel numbers and he just joins in the conversation instead of like, what?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And yeah, there's so much more to that. He was even like, because I was like, I'm Pleiadian. And he's like, oh yeah, I think I'm Syrian. And I was like, oh my God, we're so together. But it's like, I had never met another guy. That was one thing. I had created this list, like my manifesting list, where I was like, this is what I desire in a partner. And I listed everything out and he showed up, like, because again, that energy, the energy of me making that decision to love myself fully, no matter what, through all my shame, through all my abuse, through all the guilt that I might've had and carried with me, I decided to let it all go that day. And then he came in and I had written on that list, spiritually deep, loves God, loves Jesus, but isn't into the dogma of religion, just so open and exponential and works on his personal growth. And I was just like, that he's here. And I love it. So for everyone out there, it is possible.
Yeah. And the list is huge. I did the same thing because I realized what was funny was when I started dating again, after my last relationship, the last time I've been single was when I was still in addiction. And that didn't dawn on me at first. And so I immediately went back to the way I used to date. I mean, I'm sober, but all of a sudden I realized I had a few, like, not relationships, flings, we may call them. But they were all like bar managers and like a guy that owns a bar. And it was, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't, these guys are super nice, but this is not what I'm going for right now. So I stopped and did the thing, and I made a list. And that was funny too, because I put all this fun stuff. And then right after, literally the next day, I met this guy, and he had everything on the list, and he was hitting on me so hardcore. And then I realized that he had a girlfriend. And then I was like, oops, I forgot something. Trustworthy, high integrity.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And then I met the guy I'm with now, who is all that plus those.
Yes.
Funny.
Yes. So the ring day was the day I met Igor, but I had made that list about a month prior. And I actually had a lot of fun playing with the universe, as I would bring in a man just like you. And I'm like, ooh, all of this, and let me add this to it. And then the next day, another one would show up, and I'm like, okay, I want to rewrite this in a different way. So I actually had fun with that too. Like 3 or 4 different guys they came into my vision and experience. And I was like, okay, now, and I got to like really create that list and really perfect it. And then the ring, Igor, and now, we're together. So
awesome. Okay, so you said that throughout that process of healing and bringing in this new energy, you did a lot of tapping. So I'm sure a lot of people heard you say that and have no idea what that means. Yeah. And so tapping, also known as emotional freedom technique, EFT, is this extremely powerful healing tool. Yeah. So I would, if you're ready, whenever you're ready, I would really love to hear more about that. And I mean, that's been the #1 healing tool in my journey for my PTSD. And you've shown me that it can be a healing for literally everything.
Yes. So literally, I mean, that's the reason why it's the foundational modality for my Finally Free transformation program, because I teach it to every client, our first session together, because you're going to be using it throughout the entire journey. Because when we tap on, and again, it's tapping on 8 different points of the body, and they're different like metabolic neurological points. So it opens up an energy for you to release old stuck traumas, old limiting beliefs, stuff, basically anything that's not the truth of who you are, that's been stored in your cellular memory, your cellular structure, your DNA, even your muscles. I mean, people get fibromyalgia, and people will get muscle aches and pains because we're holding so much stuff in there, so much anxiety, trauma, depression. And so that's the reason why I get massages almost weekly, because I'm always moving out old stuck emotions, like physically. And so tapping is similar to that, because we're tapping on different points that are kind of like similar to acupuncture, right? Except we're not using needles. We're tapping into opening up the energetic meridians for us to get free. So it's, as you know, you've done it many times, it is magical. And every single session, I always explain where, if you can imagine like a capsule inside your heart. And every single time you've taken on something that wasn't yours, someone bullied you, someone called you names, someone told you you weren't enough, every time you were abused, all of those traumas, every single time that happened, it would be like a piece of black ash that goes into this capsule that's stuck there in your heart space. And so again, over the years, the ash piles up and it piles up and it piles up, which is why our society, when we don't have healthy ways to express ourselves, we feel terrible, right? The depression, the anxiety, the not feeling safe in this world, right? It's all because we've let this stuff compile, and then eventually, if we don't address it, it will combust. And that can come out in fits of rage at your family. I mean, there's so many different ways that it can combust. And I know I've used the metaphor too, where you're playing with Play-Doh, and if you squeeze it too much, it comes out the edges of your fingers. It's like, that's what happens when we don't deal with our shit. You know, we got to deal with it. And so tapping allows us to deal with that stuff. Not only deal with it, but actually excavate it, so that every single time we tap, we're opening up a mechanism for that stuff to be sifted out, to be lifted out, so that we become lighter, freer, clearer, and you actually feel more light and free, even after doing a very intense, like, self-hatred tapping session. Because, oh, that's the other question. Most people who are into the law of attraction and manifestation, they say, oh, well, I can't speak my negative stuff out loud. Oh, no, Jourdan, no, that's where you lost me. I can't speak my negative stuff out loud, because then it will come true again. And I'm here to tell you, yes, now if you're just spouting negativity while not tapping, potentially you're going to create more of that. But tapping gives you a free pass to be as negative as you want, because guess what? The truth of the fact is, you're already saying this stuff in your head. You're already running these doubts and these, the guilt and the self-doubt. You're already running that through your subconscious. You just don't want to say it out loud. So why not get it out with a proven modality that can energetically release it? Right? Like, it's amazing. So that's why I teach this. That's why I love it. That's why it's the foundation of my healing program. And yeah, so I wanted to present that to all of your listeners here today, so that they can start to get a little bit of a feeling for what it's like, and start to even feel that lightness, that freedom, and feel better.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for saying that about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Because we hear so much about affirmations and just say this happy thing and then every day happy ever after. And that, I do think there's power in affirmations. I like having notes around that remind me that, like, I'm a total badass. That's great. Yeah. But because I actually do believe that, and I just forget sometimes. But then there's a lot of opposite thoughts where, again, in our subconscious, we don't believe something like that. So bringing it out of your subconscious by saying it up to your conscious, and then working through it, transmuting that energy with tapping. It's like, we have had together some epic tapping experiences.
Yeah.
Where it's completely changed some of my relationships. The energy shifts are just instant and massive. And so
absolutely. And that's the other thing, where I feel like a lot of people who study the law of attraction, they're only focusing on positivity, which can backfire too. When, what do they call it? Like toxic positivity or something like that, or spiritual bypassing, where it's like, if you're only focused on the good and you're not addressing the shadow work or the gunk, it's like you're saying you want this, but you're here energetically. And so what about everything in between? That's the gunk that we got to clear. And when you clear it, yes, that whole world is available to you. So I think the missing piece of manifesting is tapping, because we have to clear the gunk so that we can actually be able to get to the level to see and to attract what it is we really desire.
Yep, I agree. So it would be really amazing if you could, like, lead us through maybe a guided tapping round, whether you want to start real basic or dive into, you know, again, I really want to present some tools that people who are struggling from the feelings from their sexual assault can have some tools to help them clear that.
Yeah.
So whatever you got for us, we'll take it.
Beautiful. And I did also bring my crystal bowl. So I was thinking, just because of the resonances and the frequencies of a crystal bowl are so pure and powerful in terms of healing, I was thinking that we'll do some tapping, and then we'll switch into me playing the bowl. And that's where, if you're at home, you can start singing, you can start going, ah, or you can start singing no or screaming no, to open up that throat chakra, where oftentimes, especially for women, we have blocked energy here because of all the times we've been shut down. And so I think that, for me at least, in the last time that I was raped and the last time I experienced that, upon moving to Nashville, when it was my big, like, I am done with this, never again. I went into a sweat lodge and I had the opportunity to scream no, 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 no. And it was so powerful. And I was in tears, and I was like, folded over in a ball, you know, but it was so powerful to be able to take my voice back. And when I wasn't heard in that interaction, I was not heard, I was not respected, you know, the no's went on deaf ears, and, you know, he didn't listen, and he kept going. And so this time I got to take my power back with the no. And so anyone who's out there who's experienced that, I encourage you to even practice while you're driving in your car and scream, no, no, no. And it is so powerful at helping you really open this up, take your power back, take your voice back, and be heard.
Thank you. I want us to take a minute with that, because that has been one of the overarching themes of everyone's story that I've heard in this series, including my own, which is you feel like you don't have a voice. Yeah. And whether that's mental because you froze and you were too afraid to scream, or whether you were screaming at the top of your lungs and no one could hear you. Mm-hmm. Or the story I have from last week's video where she was screaming for her mom. Her mom she was at someone else's house, you know, like just all of these screams and these pleads falling on deaf ears, basically. And I think in that moment, so many of us just have this switch that's like, oh, I guess my voice doesn't work. Or, you know, I don't know the right word for that, but it's like, what's even the point of me trying, almost, you know? And so I think I just want to give that moment, because I think that's a really common feeling.
Yeah. And that continues the cycle in society of women aren't heard, you know, we're not meant to be heard. We don't deserve to be heard. And it continues that belief system that we take in subconsciously and just keep passing on. And yeah, it is very, and I'm glad that you, brought space here to have that be really seen and heard, of the resounding no. And for me, you know, I've had experiences where I've screamed it out loud, and then I've had experiences where I've screamed no inside my head. I've screamed it so loudly inside my head, and so afraid to say it out loud for fear of what they would do, you know, where that screaming inside my head, it still haunts me to this day, where it's like, why couldn't I have been stronger, you know? And so we'll go into that with the tapping in just a second.
Okay, awesome.
Yay.
Ooh, that crystal ball. Oh, I want one so bad.
Oh, you'll get one. They're so powerful. And when I do start playing the bowl, if you guys want to hold on to your phone or your computer, if you are watching this on a platform, whatever platform you're on, if you touch it, you can actually feel the vibrations of the bowl. So yeah.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. I learned that after years of playing this. Okay. So with tapping, you guys can just follow along. You can't do it wrong. You really can't do it wrong. And also, if I'm saying something that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. You can still intend it, or because again, with tapping, it's a clearing mechanism. So we're clearing this stuff. So even if I say something doesn't resonate, it's not going to stick with you. It's going to leave. So
I'm going to mute myself so you don't get interrupted, but I'll be repeating after you.
Okay. Yeah. You can either repeat after me, or you can just take my voice and pretend it's yours. Whatever you want to do, whatever feels best, and we'll just go with it. And I'm just winging this, so we'll see what comes out. On top of your head, and I'll just show you the points really quick, and then we'll start cycling through. Next point is right where the third eye is. It's on either side of the brow point. And you can use one hand or two. You don't need to use both, but I like to use both just for symmetry. And then inside of the eye. And then we've got the cheekbones right underneath the eyes. And then you tap here, right below the nose and above the lip. Then you tap here. And then you can tap anywhere on your chest that feels good, anywhere. And this is like a really powerful point too, just in general with releasing anxiety. And then lastly, the point is right here where if you have a bra on, or it's like the rib point, right? About 4 inches down your armpit, and you tap right there. And then that's it. It's that easy. And you keep cycling through the points. So just follow along. All right. Oh my God. I can't believe this happened to me. I can't believe this happened to me. How did this happen to me? How did I let this happen? Why, God, did you let this happen to me? It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay, and I don't know if I can ever recover. I don't know if I can ever recover from this. It's too much. It's just too much. It's just too much. Oh, and I feel so guilty. I could have done more. Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I say no one more time? Why didn't I say it louder? Why didn't I say it louder? Why didn't anybody hear me? Why didn't anybody hear me? I said no. I said no. I said no. No means no. Why didn't anybody hear me? Why can't I stand up for myself? I'm sick of being weak. I'm sick of being weak. I'm sick of being seen as weak. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being seen as weak. No more. Oh, and you don't own me. You unawakened man. You don't own me. You don't own me. You see my tears and you disconnect. You see me like I'm made for sex. You don't own me. I'm not just a body. I'm not just a body. And if that's what I am to you, get your shit together, because it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. Never again. It's not okay. And I'm here and I'm going to process my grief. And I'm going to process this deep sadness. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I just wish that I said no louder. I wish I pushed away one more time. I wish I didn't disassociate and just leave my body. But maybe, just maybe that was my body doing its best to try to protect me. Maybe, just maybe, I can heal from this. Maybe, just maybe, I can take this experience, work through it, tap through it, hire a coach, heal. Maybe, just maybe, I can heal too. Because I deserve it. I deserve to heal. I deserve to be free. I deserve for my voice to be heard. I deserve to be seen fully, radically. I deserve freedom. And even if it's hard, even if it's, I'm going to commit. I'm going to commit from here on out to love myself more each day. It might be just a little bit starting out, but I commit. I can do it. I can love myself a little bit more each day. I can do it. And every day I can love myself more, and I might stumble and fall, and that's okay. But I've got this. I've got this. I've got the resources. I've got the support. I've got myself. I've got this. I've got the resources. I've got the support. I've got myself. I've got this. And I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to come out brighter and freer and more powerful than ever. And I choose now to step into my magnificence. I choose now to step into my badassery. I choose now to step into my power, and it feels good. It feels good. Good. So go ahead and just stretch out, take a deep breath, grab a glass of water if you'd like. And now I'm going to go into playing the bowl. And this is where you can say anything, you can scream anything, you can scream no, whatever you want to say, or maybe you're compelled to sing. Let your voice be heard at the helm. Take a few nice, deep letting go breaths. Just breathing into this new energy and just sensing and noticing what is different. Sensing and noticing your power returning now. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jourdan. This has been really, really powerful. And I know you and I both trust that the people that need to hear this will find it. It will go to them. Yeah, and I'll definitely link information on how they can dive deeper with you. I mean, I am a walking testament of the power of working with you, and so much in my life has changed since we started working together. And so I couldn't recommend you any more highly than I already do. So yeah, I just, what you just showed us to me is like 1/10 of the healing power you have. So anyway, again, I want to applaud you for being courageous. And what's so interesting to me is all the women that I asked to be a part of this, I consider each of you extremely strong-willed. You're all healers. You're all leaders. I've never seen any of you waver in your strength and power. And all of you have said this is the most nervous you've ever been for an interview. And that just shows me that that's how needed this work is. The only reason that we're nervous is because people aren't comfortable talking about this. But, you know, right now we're filming this in 2020. People are talking about COVID all day, every day. Well, statistically, more women have been raped than have people that have gotten COVID. You know what I mean? Like this is, I'm in Alaska and we're the #1 in the nation per capita. And I think it's like 1 in 4, maybe even closer to 1 in 3 because it's so underreported. And that's a lot of people. It's like every time you're at the grocery store, just, you know, it's a staggering number. And so there needs to be more voices to it because I don't like thinking about women who are feeling so alone in their pain.
And we need to end the stigma. Yeah. And I think yesterday was Mental Health Awareness Day. And it's like, we need to end the stigma of talking about mental health, talking about rape, talking about assault, all of this stuff. And it's time to start speaking up and being heard. And I think it is 2020, the energies are shifting, things are happening, and it is time for our voices to finally be heard. So let's sound our battle cry.
All right. Thank you so much, Jourdan. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Blaze.
This is my battle cry. Oh, it's do or die. Oh, you don't own me.
If you are a survivor or a loved one of a survivor and you are struggling, please call STAR's free 24-hour hotline at 800-478-8999. You are worthy of healing.